One more minute for very important speakers, at least once we see all the speakers. We're waiting for Richard Tarasofsky. I still don't see him. Ah, Richard is there. So, good morning. We are ready to start then. Okay.
Good morning.
Семеро одного не ждут.
Yes, and because we have to cover so much that it's time for us to start our celebration. Just a second. I'll start recording. Yes, it's already recording. Okay. So everything is ready. Mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, nous sommes réunis aujourd'hui avec un mandat, un objectif et un programme très important. We got together today with a very important mandate, goal and agenda. Nous soulignerons les réalisations des entreprises québécoises et des Québécois qui façonnent le développement de la province et du Canada. We will be acknowledging the achievements of Québécois and Quebec-based companies that shape the development of the province and of Canada. Il y a beaucoup de sagesse à louer et à admirer vos propres forces et talents. There is a lot of wisdom in praising and admiring your own strengths and talents. Cela est crucial, car comment autrement bénéficier de vos capacités exceptionnelles et sans les connaître intimement? It is crucial because how possibly benefit from them in other way without knowing yourself and your capabilities? Et les Québécois l'ont toujours fait d'une manière très délicate. Les Québécois have always been doing that in a very delicate manner. Jamais ils ne se vantent ni ne dominent. They are never boasting nor dominating. Leur capacité constitue une constante leur permettant de se réinventer et de grandir régulièrement avec leurs partenaires. They see it as a constant to reinvent themselves and grow steadily together with partners. Les Québécois démontrent que vous n'avez pas vraiment besoin d'être le plus gros pour gagner, ni d'être majoritaire. Québécois demonstrate that you don't really need to be big to win or to be in majority. Ce qu'il faut pour gagner, ce sont de bonnes idées, de la diligence et du travail d'équipe. What it takes to win is great ideas, diligence, and teamwork. Gagner pour les Québécois signifie à chaque fois avoir un impact et pas seulement courir après l'argent. Winning for Québécois means each and every time delivering an impact and not merely racing for money. Les Québécois et les entreprises québécoises, les entreprises qui les gèrent sont par définition autosuffisants. Québécois and the companies they manage are self-sufficient by definition. Ils sont riches de possibilités, de créativité, de grandes attitudes les uns envers les autres. They are rich with possibilities, creativity, great attitudes towards each other. Au Québec, moi-même, j'ai trouvé une recette du bonheur très simple, qui est de trouver le bonheur en soi, de le partager et de le multiplier. In Quebec, myself, I found a very simple recipe for happiness, which is to find it from within yourself, share it, and multiply it. Pendant que d'autres se cherchent encore, le Québec se retrouvait et sait ce qu'il veut. While others are still looking for what they're going to do, defining who they are, Quebec already found itself and knows what it wants. So this was my speech that I prepared for us, and a little bit, give me just one more minute to represent myself, Marina BELSKIKH, CERBA Regional Director in Montreal in Ottawa. I hope that each of you has already downloaded the program and follows it. We have incredible speakers who will be praising Quebecers and admiring, all together we will be admiring the strengths and talents and seeing what we can do together. I would today consider our speakers maybe as preachers who will be saying to us where we should go, and we will follow their advice. Some technical instructions, very important. So I please ask you to unmute yourself and so mute yourself and unmute only when you are invited. For proper networking, please identify your account with your full name in English, yes, or in French, and saying your name and your last name. You can use, and I invite you to use chat at any time. You can write private messages to yourself, or you can write into general chat. So you know what to do with the chat. You say what you are doing, you say who you are, what you are best in, and how you can bring impact together with Quebecers. And also because, as we said today, we are praising Quebec and please use this opportunity to make Quebec visible on social media. And you can share information about our today's conference, maybe the lessons you learned, the opportunities you revealed, success stories you were impressed with, and advice you received. And we will be monitoring you, okay, if you allow us. So please hashtag CERBA Quebec. And we will invite the winner will be the one who will use this hashtag the most. That's all from my side. And we have another moderator as well, who is the chairman of the chapter, CERBA chapter in Montreal and Ottawa. I invite him, Nicolas Fren, please. Mr. Fren, he's our second moderator today. Nicolas, could you please unmute yourself? I'm not sure if you're here with us. Okay, maybe there is something wrong. I don't see him here yet. Check my... maybe he will join us a little bit later. Just 1 second. Okay. I invite then our dearest speaker, Mr. Richard Tarasofsky, Deputy Director of Eastern Europe and Eurasia, Global Affairs Canada. Richard, welcome to this virtual celebration of Quebec province and Quebec business people.
Thank you very much, Marina. Je suis vraiment très heureux d'être parmi vous. En tant que Montréalais d'origine, je suis toujours heureux de participer aux événements à Québec. Alors, un très, très grand merci, Marina, pour l'invitation. And thank you very much, CERBA. I'll switch to English because I gather that everyone will understand me in English. But of course, if anybody wants to ask me any questions or make any comments in French, you're more than welcome to do so. So as Marina says, I am a Deputy Director in the Eastern Europe and Eurasia Division at Global Affairs Canada. I and my team are responsible for bilateral trade relations with 19 countries in Eastern Europe and Eurasia. We work throughout with partners throughout the federal network, so other government departments, as well as entities like Export Development Canada, Canadian Commercial Corporation, and of course we work also with provincial governments, all with the aim of supporting Canadian companies in their activities abroad in our region. And we also, of course, participate, we also work closely with non-governmental actors. And so in that category, organizations like CERBA are particularly important. CERBA is a long-standing partner for us in a variety of activities, including trade missions, but they're also a very, very crucial channel for us in government to meet Canadian businesses, but also to hear Canadian businesses, to listen to them. We hear their views, and we absorb them and transmit them wider within our organization. So in that context, I'm again especially happy to be here today to meet all of you and to listen to all of you. So Canada is, of course, very interested and active in Eastern Europe and Eurasia. Even if it's not always front page news, we have had some, in the past couple of years, some high profile events. For example, we've had a Prime Minister visit to Armenia. We've had a Governor General visit to Kazakhstan. We've had a visit by the Ukrainian President to Canada last year. There have been a whole host of ministerial meetings, both in kind of classic bilateral meetings, but also in the context of larger events such as the G20, APEC, and others. In the past couple of years, we've concluded foreign investment and protection agreements with countries in the region like Moldova, Kosovo. We are currently in negotiation with Georgia on a foreign investment and protection agreement. And some of you may be aware that the Government of Canada recently initiated public consultation on the possibility of expanding our free trade agreement with Ukraine. In addition, there have been some high-level delegations from Canada to Belarus, to Georgia, and to Ukraine. And we sort of going down to from the sort of the highest level down to the company level. I also want to highlight that we have also worked with Canadian companies on trade missions, several trade missions abroad, such as one last year to Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, where we work closely with CERBA. We've also had one 2 years ago to Belarus, again, where we worked closely with CERBA. You will notice if you attend the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, the Eastern Economic Forum, that there is a Canadian government presence at both of those. And you will also, if you participate in important Canadian events where there are links to the region, like PDAC, the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada Conference, Construct Canada, you will also see my colleagues and people from my team and from our embassies abroad participating in those events. Again, all with a view to supporting Canadian business development in Eastern Europe and Eurasia. And if I didn't mention it clearly at the outset, I should also emphasize that we work at headquarters in a team that interfaces within the department, but crucially for you, we have colleagues in our embassies abroad who run trade programs as part of the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service, and they are there to support Canadian businesses in those markets. So the sectors that we operate in and work to support in our region are encompass really a very wide range, from aerospace through to natural resources, and really in all areas where the Canadian advantage can be leveraged. And these are traditional sectors and also innovative. So to give you a couple of examples of innovative and reflecting Canada's commitments to the Sustainable Development Goals, we have been working closely with Canadian companies to leverage their capabilities in ICT and clean technologies to make mining, oil and gas, and agriculture cleaner, more effective, and more efficient. Last year, for example, the Trade Commissioner Service was particularly successful in involving Canadian companies in the development of clean tech and digital mines, which are particularly important to several countries in the region. For example, Kazakhstan, where clean tech is the fastest growing subsector of the mining industry. And that government is committed to implement OECD environmental standards. And so there is indeed an appetite from local mining companies for Canada's clean tech solutions. Other examples in that sector include, of course, the investment by SkyPower, which 2 years ago signed a landmark 1,000 megawatt solar power purchase agreement with the government of Uzbekistan, which at the time was the largest foreign direct investment in the Uzbek economy. There are other stories I can tell you in Ukraine and in other countries where we, as I say, work to support not only the traditional but the innovative as well. But I also want to mention that we don't only work on the sort of direct activities of Canadian companies in the region, but we're also increasingly looking for opportunities to work with companies in third markets that are then active in the Eastern Europe and Eurasia. So a classic example and one of the recent priorities of our program, for example, in Turkey, is to link Canadian infrastructure companies with Turkish infrastructure companies that, of course, as you probably know, are very present in Eurasia. So we're not only kind of working directly, but also trying to reach into the region through other means. And so you companies should be aware that there are a number of programs that are available for you. So we have probably our leading program is called Can Export. It began in 2016 and so far has helped over 1,000 companies with travel support to export market. This is funding up to about $75,000. We recently rejigged that program on the basis of feedback that we got, so it is even more usable and more attractive to SMEs. So I would encourage anyone interested to please check that out on our website. We have other similar programs in the innovation area where we provide support to provide research partnerships, and we also have Can Export associations, which indeed has in the past provided support to CERBA. We have other programs. I won't go through them all because I only have a few minutes to give an introductory remarks, but I should mention that we have programs to support women entrepreneurship. It's a program that we've deployed in the region. We also have programs to support Indigenous-run businesses that are looking to expand their global reach, and others. So I hope with all this, I've given you a bit of a flavor of the breadth of our work and some of the tools that are available to you. We certainly continue to see opportunities for Canadians in Eastern Europe and Eurasia. But of course, having said that, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that we are, of course, living in very unprecedented and challenging, turbulent times as a result of COVID-19. No country has been unaffected, and the effects on international trade have been and will no doubt continue to be significant. The Trade Commissioner Service has a dedicated web page on how the Government of Canada is approaching the COVID-19 in the context of international trade. And we also have on that page, we have a frequently asked questions section, which also describe how all the programs that I mentioned are being applied and considered in this specific context. So if any of that is interesting to you, I would encourage you not only to look at the program description, but also that FAQ where you can see how that is playing out now in the current circumstances. Of course, I should also mention that our ministers are, of course, very seized with ensuring that that the global economy remains as open as possible. We are, of course, as a country, very dependent on, or our prosperity is very dependent on an open, liberal trading system. And so you will have seen that Canada is exercising leadership in the World Trade Organization, the G20, bilaterally with select group of countries, really trying to find every opportunity to press the point of the importance of avoiding protectionist instincts in this context and to maintaining markets as open as possible, so that companies like you can continue to take advantage of opportunities abroad. Last but not least, I would also mention that even though some of our embassies abroad have reduced footprints at the moment as a result of COVID-19, all our programs continue to be operational, functional. So my colleagues, both in Canada, throughout Canada, in our regional office in Montreal, for example, but also in our embassy, continue to stand by to serve and support you. So congratulations to CERBA on establishing the Quebec network. I think it's a very important it's a very important initiative, and I wish you all excellent proceedings for the rest of the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. You see, we opened the doors to the whole Eurasia, and in the welcoming remarks as well, we will have each representative. We won't have Uzbekistan with us today. They got extremely busy, but they are with us today. And I know that Nicolas Friend, the chairman of the chapter, joined us. And this is my pleasure, Nicolas, to welcome you and inspire us today.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, and bonne Saint-Jean-Baptiste à tout le monde. I will be very brief. I'm very sorry to be late. I've got some connection issues, but actually, I will thank everybody to join us today. And I won't take a lot of time to remind you that our National Day, Saint-Jean-Baptiste, is a special moment for Quebecers all around the world. It's a moment of celebration and getting along with friends. That's why I'm very happy that you all joined. With no further ado, Marina, so you can keep on with the agenda of this meeting.
Thank you very much, and I invite everybody to use chat and speak with each other with private messages, or if you want to raise a question. While Richard is here, Richard, I don't know, but our long-standing member, Bombardier, they wanted to speak to you personally. Maybe they couldn't join. This is about opening flights to Eurasia. How we can do that. If Pierre will be here, you see, but I mentioned, you see here this request, and pay attention to our member. Thank you very much. So I continue. A relationship Quebec and Eurasia is remarkable because Quebec has always collaborated with Russia, and the citizens of the province of Quebec and the citizens of Russia, of course, developed so many projects together, and the development never stopped. We have today our also special, very dearest guest, Mr. ILYA KUZMIN, Deputy Head of Department for External Economic and International Relations of Moscow. Mr. KUZMIN, we invite you to encourage us to do more business together. ILYA, you could start with unmuting yourself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting to participate in such relevant events. The whole world is experiencing now the unprecedented disruption of the whole previously well-established private and business life. Due to prompt reaction of the federal and Moscow regional authorities, we could avoid the worst scenario of COVID-19 spread. Moscow managed to win enough time to rearrange the medical system and avert the collapse. Nevertheless, the COVID-19 death toll has reached about 3,600 people, and it is a big tragedy for their families and for all of us. The city has now lived further. We are starting to reopen the economy, and we are glad to see positive trends despite the reopening of restaurants and sports clubs. Moscow is traditionally active in the field of international relations. The spectrum of our activities is very wide, starting from promotion of economic cooperation and international trade and filter to different culture, education, and social projects. We are proud to have the province of Quebec as our established international partner. In previous year, we have had a series of meetings with the government of Quebec regarding in the range the project and experience exchange session. This year, in 2020, we had far-reaching plans before COVID-19 pandemic of the future development of relations with Quebec. Together with the Quebec government, we previously approved the organization of the large-scale business and culture mission to Canada, so-called Days of Moscow in Quebec 2020. This event, which normally includes business forums, different exhibitions, culture program, and networking, was planned for September this year. And I can tell you that we are still hope for the better, and we wish we all will have a chance to still have it in this year. Moscow will be happy to have a Canada, Eurasia, Russia Business Association as a partner of and part of organization of the business mission of the program in Moscow Days. But we will see what happens next, but we are hoping for the much better situation in the nearest future. Thank you.
Yes, Ilya, we have a lot of plans and projects that we will be developing together. Thank you very much for coming and being with us today, celebrating Saint Jean-Baptiste Day. At the end, it's shown in the agenda, we already marked, I spoke with the network here in Quebec with Canadian companies, and we have many projects that we will be running with Moscow and with Russia. So thank you very much. Let me move to our next, also dear speaker, Mr. EVGENY RUSSAK, Chargé d'Affaires, Embassy of Belarus in Canada. Already since I started my position here at CERBA with Belarus, we ran, I'm even forgetting, numerous events, okay, a few, and we remain active. And again, more and more events we run, okay, more plans we have. EVGENY, I please invite you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Russian and Quebec companies could do together.
Yeah, good morning and good evening, everyone. Greetings from Ottawa. Once again, I'm EVGENY RUSSAK, Chargé d'Affaires of Belarus in Canada, and I would like to start by congratulating you, the Quebecois, on your national holiday. As well, I would like to thank personally MARINA BELSKIKH, Regional Director of CERBA in Montreal and Ottawa, who kindly invited me to speak to you today a few words about my country, Belarus. As far as I can see in the program, so today's event is more dedicated to cooperation between the province of Quebec and the Russian Federation. That is why I'm not going to take much of your time, but say just really a few words about Belarus as a member of the Eurasian Economic Union and priorities of cooperation between Belarus and Canada and the province of Quebec in particular. So what should you know about Belarus, apart from the fact that we in Belarus, like in Canada, know that driving is better in winter because the potholes are filled with snow? Seriously, I hope that there is no reason to explain where, in fact, Belarus is in terms of geography. To put in place geopolitical terms, Belarus is a European country right in between Russia and the European Union, or in other words, Belarus is located at the junction of the two huge power centers, the European Union on one side and the Eurasian Economic Union on the other side. Belarus has the potential to become an effective bridge between these two huge power centers, two largest integration projects. It's worth saying a few words about Belarus and the Eurasian Economic Union, I suppose. Belarus has been a co-founder of the Eurasian Economic Union because it provides additional benefits for our economy by lifting trade barriers between member states. For us, this is an economic project because we are now about 10 million people in Belarus, and we cannot consume everything that we produce in our country, and more than 50% of what produced in Belarus has been exported. Saying that, I would like to underline that Belarus has an export-oriented economy. In some areas we're more successful, in some less. For example, Belarus ranks the second position in the world in the production of dump trucks, the second position in the world in exports of potash fertilizers, by the way, after Canada, and the second position in the world in exports of raw and processed flax. As well, we rank the fifth position in the world market of dairy products. One of our success stories is IT sector. The major market for its products is North America. For instance, software for such websites as Expedia.com or Hotels.com and lots of others is being produced in the high-tech park of Belarus, representing more than 190 companies that are registered as residents. And the export share in the total production volume exceeds 92%. With this in mind, I would like to underscore an ongoing positive developments of bilateral cooperation between Belarus and Canada. It came possible as a result of, first of all, our mutual interest to improve them and our efforts to develop cooperation and dialogue. Belarus is interested in further facilitation of economic contacts with the province of Quebec, including new emerging areas such as industrial cooperation and innovations, in particular sustainable agriculture, green technologies, telecommunication technologies, transfer of technologies, IT spheres would be of high interest for us. Ladies and gentlemen, you are most welcome to consider Belarus as your business partner. Besides trade obstacles that used to be in our relations have been lifted, and now it is perfect timing to have a closer look at commercial Belarus. Besides, we made travel into Belarus easy, and now citizens of more than 80 countries, including Canada, can enjoy visa-free regime when visiting Belarus for up to 30 days. I take this opportunity to wish an informative and fruitful event, as well as good luck in your future business endeavors in the Eurasian Economic Union and in Belarus. Feel free to contact the embassy if you have any questions, because we are here to serve you. Thank you once again. Thank you very much, and enjoy the virtual launch. Thank you.
Evgeny, while running events together, I remember a very remarkable quote of yours that you said that history is made by people. And when we speak about exports of small and medium businesses, what counts is just a good team and a great partner. So there is simply no obstacle whenever you want to develop, whenever you want to bring a great impact, and whenever you can be a good partner, first of all, yourself, So there is just no obstacle on your way. Thank you very much. We go next to Kazakhstan, our greatest partner. We plan to run an event in the space industry with Kazakhstan and many others. And we plan to have a separate event as well with the Quebec province and Kazakhstan. And I invite Mr. MURAT Rustemov, advisor, Embassy of Kazakhstan in Canada. MURAT, you are welcome.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you very much. This is an excellent event, and I think it's a series of events which is organized by CERBA. And I'd like to also express my gratitude to you personally and to CERBA for being active in these very challenging and unprecedented times, definitely. Today, as my previous participant told, we are all part of the Eurasian Economic Union, and Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. I think there is a great, interests and integration efforts. And the idea, which was first, presented by the head of Kazakhstan, the former president Nazarbayev, in 1995. And also, today I'd like to say about a little bit more about Kazakhstan, also the opportunities. The Kazakhstan also has a very unique location, like as a bridge between west and east, and also bridges all the corridors, the transport corridors between these two economic centers. And I'd like also to say that we welcome all the companies from Canada to work with Kazakhstan, because there are promising opportunities in such sectors as renewable energy, transport, communications, infrastructure, construction, information technologies, and the development of smart cities. And also there are traditional sectors like drivers of our bilateral cooperation as the mining sector, also agriculture, deep processing of mineral resources, and oil and gas sector, which I think the most driver, sectors of our bilateral cooperation. And I'd like to definitely to express my gratitude, because these events help us to move, I think, closer our cooperation and promote it, especially in this challenging time when the world economy is slowing its pace, and also every country is being affected by this pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. And I also welcome I hope that today's event will be very fruitful and will help us to further promote our cooperation between our countries. And I'd like to wish success to all of participants, and welcome everyone to contact embassy, the companies, because we're here to help. And definitely Kazakhstan could offer great opportunities for cooperation in different spheres. Please, you are most welcome.
All right, thank you very much. I think this now will be a good time to mention that we hear Canadian companies, and just today we will be experimenting after our next dearest guest, JESSIE Malone. We will be broken into small rooms. We will be networking. We will be having time face-to-face with each other. So which we hope will give you direct access to your partners, and also to the government and trade representatives, because they're here with us, and you will have a chance to network. MURAT, we continue our collaboration, and let's schedule for the nearest date event between Kazakhstan and Quebec.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me introduce to you an incredible person, a great contributor to the development between the province of Quebec and Eurasia, Mr. JESSIE Malone, Counsellor, Ministère des Relations Internationales et de la Francophonie. JESSIE, you are welcome.
Merci, Marina. Bonjour tout le monde. Hi everyone. C'est vraiment un plaisir pour moi de représenter le gouvernement du Québec dans le cadre de ces célébrations virtuelles de la Fête nationale du Québec. Donc, je suis responsable des relations avec l'Europe centrale et orientale au ministère des Relations internationales du Québec. So I am desk officer for Central and Eastern Europe at the Quebec's Ministry of International Relations. On behalf of the Quebec government, I am honored to be with you today to celebrate in a virtual way Quebec's National Day. I'm also happy to see familiar faces, Mr. Consul General, Mr. Noskov. I see colleagues from CERBA in Moscow, Mr. Nathan Hunt and Alex. I see colleagues from the Embassy of Canada in Russia. And I also see Vyacheslav Manulov from Moscow that I had the pleasure to meet last fall in Moscow. The Quebec government has a cooperation agreement with Moscow, and there were a few potential missions planned on both sides, but in the current context, they were obviously reported. So let's hope we can do that again when the situation allows it. And obviously, I would like to thank CERBA for the invitation and the organization of today's event. As a bilateral association enhancing economic relations of Eurasia with Quebec, CERBA is instrumental in bringing us closer in a mutual and beneficial relation. So with a view to capitalizing on many opportunities on both sides, Quebec's Minister of International Relations and since yesterday, also responsible for immigration, so our Minister Nadine Giraud unveiled an international vision for Quebec with a strong economic emphasis. This new approach intends to rely on our existing partnerships and to develop new ones so that they can become powerful social and economic levers. It is built on a strong foundation of political and institutional partnerships, but also has a sharp focus on trade and market diversification. As you might know, Quebec is largely dependent on the US market, being in Canada, but even though it's an important partner, we really need to reduce this dependence by diversifying our export markets. And that is exactly what we intend to do in the next few years. So we have already built a number of fruitful collaborations over the years, and I am confident that in light of our new priorities, our relationships will become more frequent and relevant while engaging our economic and institutional partners. Of course, the current context poses some challenges, but I think it also presents opportunities. For instance, more and more countries intend to rely on a green and digital transition to support the recovery. So that is something Quebec is definitely interested in talking about. I guess to sum it up, what I'm saying is we are open to do more on the international level, and to engage and deepen dialogue with all those who seek mutually beneficial partnership. So I'm glad to be here today and be able to get to know some people sharing the same goals. And that is especially true on Quebec's National Day, which is always a good opportunity to gather and mingle. Donc, en résumé, le Québec est ouvert à engager et approfondir le dialogue avec tous ceux qui souhaitent construire un partenariat mutuellement bénéfique. Donc, je suis très heureux de participer à l'activité d'aujourd'hui et de faire la connaissance de personnes qui partagent les mêmes objectifs. Et c'est d'autant plus vrai dans le cadre de la Fête nationale du Québec, puisqu'il s'agit d'un moment tout à fait propice pour se rassembler. Donc, pour terminer, j'en profite évidemment pour vous souhaiter une bonne fête nationale du Québec et j'espère que les discussions d'aujourd'hui seront aussi pertinente qu'agréable. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much.
Jessie, thank you for being with us. You constitute the development again of Quebec and Eurasia, and we have many plans to do together in this region. So now, as it was already announced, I know there will be a small changes. Mr. Anton LOGINOV, the Deputy Minister of Investment, Industry and Science of the Moscow region, will have to leave within 15 minutes. I will allow myself to take this time right now, just 5 minutes. You will be separated into small rooms, 6 people each. And please take your time to speak with each other, and how to do that quickly. You will have maybe 1 minute to introduce yourself. So please tell who you are, what you are best in, what are your talents, and the next very important question, how you can bring impact together with Quebecers, how you can improve something. So let's start. It can take, we have just 5 minutes, and then we continue to hear our speakers. Okay, there will be 4 participants per room even. So we have just 4 minutes to do that. Okay, we start.
Hello.
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 Yeah.
Let me introduce. I am acting General Director, Moglina says. Thank you very much for hosting me today in this workshop. I briefly describe my Moglina says in Pskov region.
Yes, this is the free economic zone. Says, how to translate? Says, what is it in Russian? Free economic zone?
Special economic zone, in common free zone, actually.
Yes, exactly. In Moglino, which is it? Where is it in Russian, Moglino?
Moglina is to the west part. We are mere 40 kilometers from Europe borders.
Okay. Okay.
Baltic countries border.
And what is your name?
My name is Natalia Yushko. Yes. So I briefly describe to take 5 minutes about my Moglina free zone. We have a huge opportunity for European and Canadian investment projects among middle and small cap entities. We are very happy to join efforts that in the context of climate change issues to improve our industry process to environmental sustainable development. So what we have today, we have a full infrastructure, free land plots with gas, electricity, roads, many incentive like corporate tax 2%, many program for funding. Actually, we are
we have just 1 more minute. Okay, 1 minute to finish because it's 1 minute per person. And we have
I know. Yes, we can provide funding for innovative, high technology projects.
Oh.
So you can get my contacts, Yushko.
Yes, you can write them in the chat as well. Okay, so I have to, yeah.
Yes, and you have my full interview that was recorded and sent you through the mail.
Oh, yes,
Thank you,
it.
guys.
Thank you. Okay.
Oops.
Yes, we have just 1 more minute. Okay, it's the first time I am experimenting. It says like 50 seconds. If there is anybody else who wants to introduce, maybe Tatiana Kuzmina. Tatiana, 40 seconds.
Willingly. The Russian Association for Canadian Studies is a unique organization It's an NGO uniting both academics, researchers, and specialists, and it's a wide platform for the discussion Russian-Canadian relations. We are holding the annual conference annually. We are making our publications, and today it's one of the most stable channels of connection between our countries, if not to talk about CERBA. Join us for our conferences. I'm afraid they will be in Zoom later this year in October.
Okay, very good. So we are now all back together and we continue. Let me now invite our speaker. We finished, we are done with the welcoming remarks, and Mr. Anton LOGINOV, Deputy Minister of Investment, Industry and Science of the Moscow region. So his topic is industrial specialization of the Moscow region and potential for collaboration with Quebec. Anton.
Bonjour or good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and bonsoir or good evening who are here in Europe. My regards, and I want to thank CERBA and Mr. Nicolas Fren and Marina BELSKIKH for this event, and Mr. Valery Maximov, the trade representative of Russian Federation in Canada, for co-inviting me to take part in this event. And of course, Nathan Hunt for cooperation with Moscow region here in Russia. I believe that such kind of dialogues is the key for partnership between Moscow region and your region. Let me introduce myself and my region. My name is Anton LOGINOV, Deputy Minister of Investment, Industry and Science. So from the name of the ministry, you can understand what we are responsible for. Additionally, we're responsible for international cooperation, for small and medium-sized enterprises, and for PPP projects. If we are talking about Moscow region, we've got two regions in Russia with similar names, Moscow City and Moscow region. Hello, my colleagues, ILYA, KUZMIN, I see you. The region, Moscow region is a region around Moscow City with a total area more than 44,000 of square kilometers, with a number of residents more than 7.5 million of people. Together with the city of Moscow, we form agglomeration more than 25 million of people. That's 15% of total population of Russia, with 1/3 of all Russian consumer market. Just some figures. We've got 3 international airports. So if you have visited Russia, you have visited Moscow region through these airports, Sheremetyevo, Domodedovo or Zhukovsky. We are number 2 in GDP after Moscow City. We've got 8 from 13 science cities. Science city is a definition from Soviet times. The main part of the economy is made up of universities, science institutes, and innovation infrastructure. More than 10 million of square meters housing construction annually. And if we are talking about industrial development, industries that feel comfortable in Moscow region, we've got a joke. We've got all industries except oil and gas. For example, food processing. We've got 5 factories of Mars company, 3 factories of Pepsi, 2 of Coca-Cola, Danone, Valeo, and many others. Automotive and parts. For example, Hino Trucks, Pilkington Glass, JCB, John Deere, and the last year we've got a new world-known company established their factory in Moscow region. That's Mercedes-Benz. Then pharmaceutical and medical equipment, for example, General Electric, Philips, Varian, Bayer. Chemical, Henkel, BASF, Michelin, and others. Electronics, LG and Bosch. Airspace, Augusta helicopters and aircrafts MiG are also produced on the territory of Moscow region. So we feel comfortable in all these spheres, and we invite Canadian companies for localization in our region. What we can offer for companies who are interested in our region. A number of industrial parks, including special economic zones. We've got 59 of them. If you all this infrastructure, all these industrial parks have infrastructure, and if you need something additional, we've got compensation up to 1.3 million of USD if you need additional gas, electricity, roads, water, sewage, or other. Of course, we've got tax incentives, benefits, and we've got also a program of staff education for the companies. For example, with HINAF, with Mercedes, we've got a program. We're preparing staff in our polytechnics for these factories for free, for the budget of Moscow region. Why we are sure that Canadian business should be in our region? For this moment, we've got 8 companies from Canada. One of these companies is CCL Industries. They are producing packaging stickers. If I'm not mistaken, this company is from Toronto, but I strongly believe that we can be our region with all our consumer market, with all our infrastructure can be interested for Canadian business. Why we're sure that we are the right choice? We've got more than 600 projects annually, implemented annually. So we've got very huge experience in starting, continuing, and finalizing all the construction procedures or all business opportunities. And we've got a special institute, Center of Construction. This is a special organization, 100% owned by Moscow region. They are responsible for all documents, like, for example, like permission for construction. So they will push you and all our services to make it in the shortest time. So this is some short information about Moscow region, about our opportunities. I do hope that I will have some, for example, questions from the chat, or maybe after the presentation or after our webinar. Thank you very much.
Anton, thank you for letting us know the new opportunities to collaborate with Moscow region. I invite participants to write to each other private messages, find each other on social media. This is why we are together. And we have just a few minutes left, you see, with Ruth Fashion, because he has to leave. This is a very, again, dearest guest today. She's the president and CEO of the Quebec Businesswomen Network, and the association doing an incredible work that CERBA will try to collaborate with this association here in Quebec and continue. You see the question of gender equality. Ruth, please, we are eager to hear you and your experience, how you managed to connect women with the big corporations, Canadian companies, and not only in Canada, elsewhere in the world.
Everywhere in the world. Thank you so much for inviting me and having this opportunity to talk to you, because it's very seldom that I have an audience like yours. So thank you very much. So I'm just to introduce myself for a bit, I'm a 30 years entrepreneur's experience, and I joined the Réseau des Femmes d'Affaires, which I call the RFAQ, 10 years ago, without knowing too much where I was going with that. And then I hear from the Ministère des Relations Internationales, justement, that there was a kind of initiative around the world that was called supplier diversity. And I thought that it was the right way, the right direction for the women entrepreneurs to make a difference, and a good way to be taken for them. And I didn't know that 10 years later, I would be the one to write the recommendation for the G7, which I did last year. And I was glad to do that, because for the last 10 years, I really focused all my intention on access to market for women. I also sit on the advisor committee for the UN United Nations for the women entrepreneurs, and I'm glad to be there and see what's going on around the world. And there's the three challenges that are the same for the women all around the world, which is access to capital, access to market, and leadership opportunities for women. And obviously, we chose the access to market for women because the main purpose for our FAQ is wealth creation for women. In Canada, we have to know that 16% of the women-owned business only are for women detained at more than 51%. And the stat says that there's only 5 employees per employee. So it becomes complex to bring opportunity. It has to be upon their capacity. And supplier diversity is the right things to do, since it takes in consideration that the women business are very often small. So we have to know that in US there's the only place in the world in US that we find a measure that large corporations have to put a program in place and benefit from certain consideration, while in Canada we don't have it, but we do things differently and we go specifically on the economic way. So it makes sense for plenty of reasons, and that's why we implemented many initiatives to bring the things in 2 ways. So first, we work with the women entrepreneurs to support their growth, and second, we create awareness with large corporations to encourage them to buy from minority where women are. So we don't say that women are minority because they're not 50% of the population. We say that they're minority because they represent only 1% of the market. So it means that large corporation at this point buy only 1% from their buying is given to the woman entrepreneur. So in that perspective, we created the Women Economic Development Project to just to offer concrete opportunities to win new contracts by supporting women entrepreneurs. This program, I should say, provide access to new market by selling to multinationals from here and or abroad. And our network is really action oriented, and that's why we also encourage women to do business with each other, which is the second. So they do business with the large corporation and they do business with the women entrepreneurs. In addition, we to networking opportunity with large corporation, the program offers training, support, and world-class certification. So it gives them all the tool and the strategy they need to accelerate their entry into new market, Canadian, American, or European. And we went in Europe last just before the crisis started in February, and we have such good opportunity. And since then, we have 3 or 4 women that already got contract for Europe from European company, which is a great market for us, especially in the French market, which is a good niche for us. So we organize trade mission. We work closely with a global affair that trade mission was organized for global affair. And we also have initiative with large corporation, which is more the target here today. And the objective with the project is called IDFAM, which bring together all major decision maker committee to increase the presence of the women entrepreneurs in their chain. And what we try to do, we try to establish an action plan with that and target concrete and realistic action while focusing on collaboration and sharing the best practices between peers. Last year, for example, we had Accenture that was mentoring CAE, and we had BDC mentoring EDC. So it was a good project. So it gives the that project that gave birth to a new platform to connect women entrepreneurs with large corporations, with the intention of giving contract from one side and for the other side for large corporations to find women entrepreneurs where they are. So it was a pure gift given from La Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec that we really appreciate. And it just to give you an example, last week only we had more than 24 different requests for a large corporation to find women entrepreneurs. So we have, to give you an idea of who's sitting on this board, we have CEE, BDC, BMO, EY, Cascade, La Caisse de dépôt, EDC, RUTH, AgroPure, Air Canada, Air Transat, Cogeco, Desjardins, Rio Tinto, and we have almost 25 of these corporations sitting together and say, how can we make the women economy grow faster and creating an impact in the community. So last week, we had a conference where we have more than 30 large corporations at a round table to sit with women entrepreneurs and find a way to do business together. So I think, we're proud because we're really leading the way in Canada by making big company aware of the importance of all these small gestures that are so significant for women entrepreneurs. Whether for catering services, executive coaching, or corporate health services, we have women entrepreneurs in all sectors, both in service and manufacturing. But we have to know also that 80% of the women entrepreneurs in Canada are in the services. So what is important to remember that is every little gesture counts and has a greater impact than you can think. So just in case, I don't know if you are, for some of you, based in Quebec, but we would really appreciate if you have an interest of making a difference and joining the group with us. You're more than welcome to call me, and we'll see what we can do together. And as far as CERBA, if there is a collaboration that we can establish together, we'll be more than happy to do that, because we're there to share, we're there to bring women entrepreneurs in the better position in the economic sector, in all economic sectors. So thank you very much and welcome aboard, welcome in Quebec, and we would be more than happy to have opportunity to do something with CERBA in the different countries that you represent. Thank you so much.
Ruth, this is exactly that we are going to do. Besides this, implementing each Sustainable Development Goal of the United Nations in each our project and each our event we ran. There will be separate, we plan to do a separate committee on gender equality. And just allow me to raise one small question, because not, in fact, everybody understands gender equality the right way. We see it as the next evolution of the society. Just because within any person, no matter you are a woman or a man, you have a set of skills that help you to be more severe, like let's say set of skills, masculine skills. And also whenever you want to have a big, good leader, manage the team, achieve something, it's when at this stage, it happens usually, I don't know, at 40. With some people, it doesn't happen, unfortunately, because you need to work with yourself and develop your personality. So whenever we see, we start integrating those feminist or feminine skills within a personality, within a company, within a country, we just show that we are there to bring an impact. We are there to do something better than, again, just racing after money. Is it right, or how do you see it? Yes, Ruth?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you very well.
Oh, okay. Am I right what I just said? Am I right that it's an evolution?
Oh yeah, of course, and it's in every initiative that increase and get better every day. Like when we started 10 years ago, I mean, companies were doing that for kind of a purpose that was, I have to do that. But now 10 years later, I would say for the last 3 or 4 years, it makes such a huge difference because companies are there to make the difference, and they come to us, and we just try to bring them the women that they need. And you know what, we represent 1% of the market. It's not because there's bad intention behind, it's just because we don't know where to find these women. And better initiative, more people knows about these initiatives and where to find women, we will work together to make it better every day.
Ruth, so we welcome you to create this committee within CERBA together in the province of Quebec, and please advise us, you see, the right steps, how we should do that, and involve more Eurasian company, you see, towards this path, and also Canadian ones. I know that they will never refuse us because everybody wants to get better.
Of course, everybody is welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruth.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We now invite our oldest friend. He's old in terms of friendship, but always very young and inspiring. And I remember myself 13 years ago when I just started to help Eurasian small businesses to export to Canada, which was a very difficult task. I just wrote an email to Mr. Dmitry Bestrov, who is the Regional Director, International Cooperation Department in Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Russian Federation, a very big person, and who found his time for just one small woman entrepreneur, okay, from Canada, a Russian origin, who came back to help Russian businesses to get better, to partner with Canada, and he found this time, and since then our friendship continues. Look, it's 13 years since now, and now within CERBA we have a bigger even opportunity to do something incredible with Dmitry. Dmitry, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Marina. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we hear you very
well. Well, actually, nothing to be surprised of, because you know, if I've got an email. And Canada was mentioned, and those guys who know me, they know that my adult life was divided between 2 countries, Norway and Canada, and that's why actually I'm a bit surprised that we are talking about some issues of feminism, because for me, as a Norwegian resident, to some extent, women rule Norway, and that's the fact. And what are we talking about? That's, so I'm not in a surprise at all. And actually, having lived in Canada for 6 years, I didn't notice that there is something wrong with women in Canada. They are very active and very full of energy, and they really rule. Maybe not in a way like in Norway, but anyway. Well, actually, it does. To begin with, I'm very happy to see old friends here, Nathan Hunt, Gilles Breton, and my dearest Nicolas Fran, as I used to address to him when he worked in Moscow, Monsieur Ambassadeur. And Nicolas was always very reluctant. Come on, Dima, stop it. I don't want our embassy people hear this. Okay, but Nicolas, you really represent Quebec, sovereign Quebec, and so on. Well, actually, you know, after so many series and up to the point speeches, I'm really at a loss what I'm supposed to talk about. And again, Marina, you absolutely shocked me with your perfect French. Well, in fact, you even started speak English with French accent, in my opinion, because you speak not better English, but more pure English. Now it's really as if you are a real.
Because this was coming from the heart.
Exactly. That's my point, and you know that's why I came to the conclusion that I could not speak about anything else that's of my own Quebec appreciation. Well, because really, well, I shouldn't well, I shouldn't tell Canadians about Canada, Quebecois about Quebec, and to tell about Canada, having Tatiana Kuzmina here, a person who knows everything about Canada and much more than any other Canadians. Well, then my own appreciation of Quebec. I only, you know, I would love so that we could have go so high in high technologies that we could afford teleportation, because now we all could meet in Trois Brasseurs near Place Jacques Cartier, or maybe at Petit Champlain and Vieux Quebec. Then it would be absolutely perfect. Well, but unfortunately we are not that high in high technologies so far. But Quebec is a real, absolute fantastic place, absolute incredible country. Well, because let's admit historically, the Quebecois is the people who live in the La Belle Province already for 400 years. Unlike the rest of Canada, which was populated by Europeans only 150 years ago. And so Quebecois are really very, very special people. And when I visited Quebec, and actually it happened every week, because I think every week I visit either Gatineau or Montreal, or that far than Quebec City. And I was greatly fascinated by big variety of Quebecois industries. It's aerospace, very highly developed finance, transportation, information technology, optics and photonics, biotechnology, health industry, hydropower, agriculture, forestry, mining, and last but not least, tourism. And speaking about tourism in Quebec, I'm very angry with Quebecois, because I think that Quebec does nothing to promote Quebec as a tourist destination. Because Quebec is absolutely fantastic as a tourist destination. I could tell you a lot about my favorite places in Quebec, like Gaspésie, like Charlevoix, with ILYA, RUSSAK, Saguenay, Lac Saint-Jean. Oh my goodness. I will stop crying because of nostalgia over all these fantastic places. And well, what about then Quebec beer, like La Fente du Monde, Deux Pistoles, Borealis, and Coup de Grissou. Only two places in the world can make beer produced of buckwheat, Quebec and Bretagne in France. And what I'm missing more frequent contacts with Quebec. You know that in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Russian Federation, I'm responsible for all northern countries. So US, Canada, all Nordic countries, British Isles, so Britain and Ireland, and some parts of Eastern Europe, but all Arctic countries are mine portfolio. And each time I come to the north of Russia, one and the same question: where are Canadians? Where are Quebecois? And now we are all have a big excuse because of pandemic, but I hope that next year people from business from Quebec, governmental officials from Quebec, and my friends from the Canadian Embassy will finally visit annual event in Murmansk, annual Murmansk International Business Week, and there are many events around in the framework of this week, like a mining conference. Again, Quebec, you are very welcome. Well, so not to speak too much, I will then stop all this waterfall of words and just say to all Quebecois, have a nice Jean-Baptiste Day, and I really am in all my heart and all my soul. I'm now in La Belle Provence because I'm really feeling great nostalgia. Thank you very much again.
Dmitry, it took me some time, you see, now to understand what I really tapped into when I stepped working with CERBA. You see, being a bilateral association, this is something incredible. I think I will never find it anywhere else, and CERBA is the best place ever I could work, because you see, each of the trade representatives of the countries, let's say Russian trade representatives of Canada, you see, when they speak, of course, they operate within the country. But being bilateral, for me personally, means to put together, you see, those who don't know maybe yet or not comfortable yet. And please help me. See, it took me some time to realize all this potential, and now I will be writing you endless emails, you see, to promote Quebec companies, and we will be scheduling many events together, many great projects actually, helping both Quebec, Canada, Russia to get better.
Well, I'm very happy to see representatives from Eurasian countries, and I only mean that the more Canada and Quebec in particular is trading with other Eurasian countries, the more trade Russia will get out of this cooperation. So it's really absolute synergy effects, and I really welcome. And I'm very happy to see here this event representatives from Moscow government and Moscow region government, and I personally see very good prospects for cooperation between Moscow region and greater Montreal area. Well, and if you well, actually you are in close contact with all Eurasian embassies, I believe, but well, if some countries are not represented, please turn to us, because we as the Chamber of Commerce, we have great contacts with our neighbors, and I will be very happy to provide any assistance.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now it's time for us to know more about Montreal. So what are those talents? What are those achievements of Montreal? Because let's again remember that today we are praising all the good talents that Montreal and province of Quebec developed. And let me introduce to you Philippe Valentine, Project Director, Europe Montreal International, who is becoming our, again, they always were, but now we will be working even tighter. So Philippe, you are welcome. Please tell us what we should know about the opportunities of doing business in Montreal or localizing the technology here.
Very well, thank you very much for the invitation. Let me just close my email inbox so you don't hear the emails pop in. I'm kind of busy these days. Sorry as well for the t-shirt. It's more than 30 degrees in my apartment because I'm in the process of replacing my air conditioning. So my apologies if a technician comes by at some point during my presentation. I'll try to make it short and sweet so that we're not disturbed. So it's a pleasure for me to speak to you today and wearing my Montreal-made t-shirt as a proud Montrealer. I have a presentation. Would you like me to proceed with just in a more informal way, or you'd like me to proceed with the presentation? I can share my screen if you want.
Informal way, Philip. Today we are enjoying and being creative and very personal.
I also prefer such presentations. I don't need a deck to make my pitch about Montreal. What I would like, though, is if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in French, in English, in Russian. I'll be able to answer your questions with pleasure. So I represent Montreal International, which is a nonprofit organization based here in the Greater Montreal region. Basically, we have a triple mandate. We assist foreign talent, both students and skilled workers, setting up in Montreal so that they can work in the region and study in the region. We help international organizations, think UN agencies and other such organizations. So we help those organizations set up in Montreal. This is not so well known, but Montreal is the third largest hub for international organizations in the Americas after New York and Washington. So this has a lot of traction within our team. And the third mandate, which is the one I work for, is foreign direct investment. In summary, I assist European companies setting up and expanding operations in the greater Montreal region. I specifically cover Eastern Europe, so that includes obviously Russia, which is one of the main 4 markets I travel to twice a year under normal circumstances. As you probably know, I cannot travel this year. I was supposed to go in Russia in April. This is just postponed. I'll try to go to Russia as soon as possible. So most probably at the beginning of 2021. So I wanted to let you know a bit more about what Montreal is about. Very often Montreal is known for its, festivals, the Grand Prix, its joie de vivre, if I may use the French expression, the quality of life and the ease of living. But Montreal is also a very good destination for business. So we're one of the fortunate cities in the world which combines very high quality of life and entertainment, but also with very high quality business environment. And this is explained by a few factors. Just to put you in context, Montreal is the second largest metropolitan area in Canada after Toronto. We are twice as big as Vancouver, so it's quite a significant gap between the second and third cities in the country. So Montreal is truly the second largest business hub in the country. We have a GDP which is more than $200 billion, with the fastest growth in the country in 2018 and 2019. This is explained by the fact that we have a lot of tech companies in the country. We have the highest concentration of tech company in Canada, actually. So this explains why our GDP growth has been so fast over the past few years, because most investments these days happen in those industries: artificial intelligence, video game development, visual effects, well, more or less these days, but because of COVID, but visual effects and animation, and of course, software development. So Montreal being one of the main hubs in tech in North America, obviously we've been gaining speed over the past few years versus other areas which are more focused on natural resources or automotive or traditional finance, which have lost steam over the past few years. So Montreal is actually gaining speed at the moment. We can even see that through the COVID crisis, which I'll touch base a little bit afterwards. But the ecosystem right now is very resilient, and I cannot disclose our investment results so far in the year. But what I can say is that it's actually looking still more promising than 2019, which was our record with $2.6 billion investment attracted in the region. So Montreal has been at the forefront of a few technological revolutions over the past decade or so. Obviously, the ones in aerospace, thanks to the presence of Bombardier, but also other players. I'm thinking about Tech, Pratt & Whitney, and CAE, which are huge players in the ecosystem as well. So the aerospace industry is one of the main drivers of growth in the region. We have as well been at the forefront of many technological revolutions when it comes to, for example, artificial intelligence and deep learning. Montreal is basically at the forefront of this revolution for the past 25 years. It's a trendy word in many places, but in Montreal, it's actually in our DNA when it comes to university research. Same thing goes on for software development, especially focused on B2B purposes. I know Russia and Ukraine are really strong in those industries, and Montreal as a gateway to the North American market is very often a very good choice. I've been working with a few Russian and Ukrainian companies over the past 2 years to help them set up their operations in Canada through the greater Montreal region. We are really strong as well in life sciences. The industry has been changing quite a lot over the past 15 years, but Montreal has been able to position itself in a very advantageous way thanks to its research capacities. Because this is something that many industries can tap into, the quality of the talent pool. And this is first and foremost thanks to the universities that we have here in the region. Actually, Montreal is the only city in the world that has 2 universities in the top 100 globally. So McGill University and Université de Montréal, one being French-speaking, the other one English-speaking. Make sure that all the companies coming over have access to the best talent possible. Talent is one part of the success of Montreal in those industries that I mentioned, but there's also another component which is significant, especially for companies that need to reduce their costs. And this is where I think there's a pitch to be made to Russian, Ukrainian, Kazakh companies, which basically have already access to very low operating costs, thanks to the lower costs of living and thanks to lower operating costs in general in your region. However, when it comes to developing business in North America, you kind of need to have a local presence. And Montreal as a nearshoring facility is always best positioned because of the costs of living first, which lowers the salaries you need to spend on your employees and the overall lower operating costs. On top of all of that, there's some very generous incentives available in the province of Quebec and only in Quebec. So when you think of software development, there's a tax credit which refunds 24% of salaries of software developers. When we go into game development, 37.5% of the cost is refunded by the Quebec government. Same thing goes on for visual effects and animation, up to 40% refund. So we are really aggressive when it comes to attracting companies so that they choose Montreal as a nearshoring or development center in North America. The third pillar I would mention is, of course, the quality of life. It's very difficult to find in North America a city which is as cosmopolitan as Montreal. We very often think of Toronto and Vancouver as very international cities, and we kind of forget to look into Montreal. Actually, in Montreal, the population is way more international in the sense that 55% of us are bilingual, French and English, versus 7% and 8% in Toronto and Vancouver. And 20% of us speak at least 3 languages versus 3-4% in the other provinces. So it means that not only is the province or the city of Montreal multicultural on paper, we also are in the streets. You hear different languages all over the place, and you can basically speak whatever language you want here. It's very easy to go through with either French, English, and even Spanish, Arabic, and I know there are 25,000 Russians living in Montreal. So there are a lot of languages spoken here. A lot of Ukrainians as well are here. I don't have the exact number though, but it's above 10,000 from what I understand. The quality of life is also something very interesting to consider when it comes to setting up operations. There is one thing I'd like to mention as well about the ease of doing business in Quebec, in particular. In Europe, it's always very complicated to set up a company, and for anybody who's an entrepreneur amongst you, you know what I'm talking about. It takes weeks, months just to get these certificates, to get the payroll rolling, and it's very difficult to start operations in Europe. Well, here it takes about 2 weeks, and it's very easy. So, these are all things that make Montreal a great place to do business. Quebec has a specific program as well for incorporation, a very specific incorporation regime. You don't even need to find Canadian partners to incorporate in the province of Quebec, as opposed to Ontario and most other provinces, where you need 25% Canadians on your boards of director. So Quebec is a logical choice if you want to skip that part where you need to find a trusted Canadian partner to invest in your company. Here, it's pretty much, you can be 100% home country owned, set up your subsidiary here. There's no issue, there's no problem, no minimum amount required, no minimum hiring required. You don't need to hire Canadians. And to get work permits, it's easier versus the United States. So Montreal is very well positioned on those 2 fronts because we're in Quebec and we benefit from the Canadian immigration regime. One advantage, which is also very interesting, is the fact that Canada has signed a lot of trade agreements. So for any companies interested into exporting, Montreal is the last oceanic port on the St. Lawrence Riverway, meaning that you can export your goods to anywhere in the world and receive goods from all over the world as well, without needing to change ship. As soon as you go further than Montreal, you need to transport your merchandise to another smaller ship and then ship it to Chicago, Toronto, Detroit, and so on. So Montreal is actually the last oceanic port, and it's the best way to actually gain access to the central market in North America. without having to pay for all the logistics of it. As well, Canada has trade agreements with the EU, with the United States and Mexico, and with 12 other partners in the world, which include, well, more than that if you count each country individually, but we have trade agreements with the Pacific Partnership, Trans-Pacific Partnership, which includes Australia, New Zealand, Chile, Japan, and so on, Thailand. There are 11 countries which are a member of that trade agreement. And we have trade agreements with countries such as Panama, Chile, Costa Rica, Peru, Colombia, and so on. So with a lot of partners in Latin America. So basically Canada allows you to do business all over the world, which is a huge advantage of the country. So that was what I had in mind in a very few minutes. I'd like to touch base a little bit on the kind of services and support that Montreal International provides as well, because that may be useful for companies interested into setting up or expanding operations in the region. So as a nonprofit organization, we get our funding from the 3 levels of government, federal, provincial, and municipal, but also from the private sector. About 25% of our funding is from the private sector. About 200 companies give us some money for our operations. What that means is that as a nonprofit organization, privately managed, we still can provide free services to all our clients. We basically act as free consultants. So the kind of services I personally can provide, introduce you to the local ecosystem in many sectors. So whatever the sector you're active, we probably have a lot of information on it. So I can provide that to you. It's always updated on a quarter basis. I can, of course, introduce you to all the network of partners which you may need, whether it is service providers, lawyers, accountants, recruiters, and so on, but also private sector partners. We don't do business development per se, but we still try to help as much as we can on that front. And obviously, we can introduce you to research centers if you're, let's say, active in artificial intelligence or video games. We can introduce you as well to industrial clusters in the region and so on. Once the decision is more or less taken to incorporate, as I said, we can introduce you to all those partners to make sure that the process goes as smoothly as possible and that you fully understand the Canadian way of doing business, because there's a huge difference between Europe and North America in that regard, which I can explain to individually later on individual calls. But we're there to make sure that you understand the business environment, that you apply to the right tax credits, and that you get access to all the money you can get from the government. And as well to make sure that every step goes as smoothly as possible. Last but not least, we have 2 other services which come in whenever you're ready to proceed with the actual project, investment project. We have a communication department which focuses on a press release, make sure that we make as much noise as possible. If your project is significant, we can even contact journalists and make sure that your presence is well known in Quebec and beyond. So to make sure that there's actually some traction for you to benefit from in the region. As well, we have a department which can help with the work permits. Very often when a company chooses to set up an office, 1 or 2 key personnel, 1 or 2 key staff are transferred, and we have a department which can assist for free with those work permits as well. That's pretty much who I am, what I do in a nutshell, and really touch base on the Greater Montreal's advantages. I could probably just give a honorable mention to a few other sectors because I mentioned, of course, software development, artificial intelligence, entertainment industry, aerospace and life sciences, but Montreal is also really strong in engineering and construction, in the agri-food and food processing industries, in the clean tech industry, well, I should say industries because there are 9 verticals in that industry, and as well advanced manufacturing, whether it is electric vehicle, batteries and recharge stations for electric vehicles as well, specialized trucks, including buses, and advanced manufacturing in general, manufacturing 4.0. We have been developing this cluster for a long time now through subsidies, and it's been working well. So honorable mention to those industries. So that was me in a nutshell. My name is Philip Valentine. I guess Marina will provide my contact info to the attendees. I'm always willing to have one-on-one conversations. Of course, Marina can assist with the conversation as well, just to make sure that everyone is on board. But I'd be very happy to hear from you and to discuss your projects in Canada.
Yes, we now have a complete picture of what Montreal is. and the services of Montreal International are better delivered together with CERBA, because I'm telling you that, again, just becoming a member of CERBA, you basically manifest that there is a relationship, there are opportunities, and working together in a group, we achieve all this more.
And I should add that we also work hand in hand with Invest Quebec, with whom you've probably had a presentation, I assume, or you probably know Invest Quebec.
Yes, our chairman, Nicolas Friend, is always there, and he's helping me to connect within CERBA, Russian Quebec companies, whatever, with the best person.
So, you know, if you have a project, both the services of our organizations are free. We really work hand in hand. We have slightly different service offers. So, you know, we're really there to work together to make sure that you benefit from all the tax advantages and also the work permit department.
You see, I have been experimenting with Belarus with the timber project, and I found out that because Canada is far, because this is still highly competitive, if you say not that competitive that in US, but a highly competitive ecosystem, when you come to Canada together in a group as a cluster, this resonates much more, much stronger. So we see that again in CERBA could help those, like a few companies immediately when they get together to be established in Montreal, if there is a case.
I am so sorry, I have to leave.
Yes, Philip, thank you very much. And there is the new company, you know, that is scheduling the appointment with you, Coursir. So they will have a chance to speak with you later.
Perfect. I'll be very happy to speak with you all whenever you have any questions about Montreal or our services. I'll be happy to hold the conference call with you.
Yes, yes.
See you soon. Thank you.
Yes, see you soon. And now at the end, there is an incredible speech, an incredible speaker. So this is Quebec or a Québécois, Dave Manger, founder and CEO of Chocolatier, Dave Manger Ltd. Because I already said to you that nothing can stop you unless you develop your good personality, unless you become international, unless your home is not only where you were born, or the whole planet Earth. So when you grow to this level, you can do business just anywhere in the world and nothing can stop you because you are a good person and no nationality matters. You're just a citizen of the world. And this is Dave Manger exactly, okay, who he is. Dave, please come here to us and give us those ingredients of success that you used. So a Quebecer who, as I understand, was not really, you can correct me, Dave, was not really learning international business, economy, or politics, but found himself suddenly on the path of entrepreneurship. He is married with a woman, Russian woman, I don't know if married or not, but okay, correct me, and this doesn't matter, who is living probably right now, I understand, in Kaliningrad, and we have Svetlana from administration. He can answer your questions why Dave chose Kaliningrad, okay, to open his business there. So what are those ingredients to be successful for a Quebecer in Russia and elsewhere in the world? What helped you, Dave? Dave, you should unmute yourself. Okay, Dave, I unmuted you.
Ok, ça marche.
Yes.
Bonne fête de la Saint-Jean-Baptiste à tout le monde. Spaznik Ivan Kupali, to je zavtra. I'll switch to English. I guess everybody understands only English. Yes, as Marina told, I found my business in Kaliningrad, first in Moscow region, but I switched 2 years ago in Kaliningrad. I'm born in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. I came to Russia first just after the default in '98. It was a very interesting time. All the foreigners were leaving Russia. I just arrived. My first education, I was student of theology in Université Laval. I specialize in biosense pathology, but I didn't want to make business from my religion or a source of earning money. It was just something for me. And after that, I came to Russia. I began a little bit as a member of CERBA. I proposed to Canadian company to help them establish something in Russia. After I studied here, and after that, I proposed to Russian company to help them in Canada as well. But when I met my wife in 2000, she didn't want to have a commis voyageur, so she asked me to find something in Russia to have more stable life.
To buy a big house? To buy a big house?
No.
Or an apartment? Like to settle, yes, to settle in a city forever. This is what you mean.
I just have a chocolate factory. I don't have a house yet.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, so I came to chocolate. It's a little bit suddenly. It's more personal interest. And I worked at the beginning for a company Korkunov. You probably know it's chocolate.
Yes, of course.
After that, I worked for 3 years for Wimbledon as director of development. For 7 years for other Russian companies that are in the top in the snacks and confectionery industry. And I started my company in 2015 in Moscow region. 2 years ago, I switched to Kaliningrad as it's a free economical zone. So my company is mainly oriented for sales in Moscow regions and to export. We're exporting to China, to Japan, to Kazakhstan, because it's probably more expensive chocolate. We're not so present in smaller region of Russia. The company from August last year is official distributor of Moscow Kremlins in Russia. So yes, for us it's quite an achievement. It's a good recognition. All my business life is in Russian. I'm not really using English at work. All my employees are Russian, and all the business is in Russian here. But I don't have any roots from Russia. My parents are from Saint-Jean. They are not speaking English. So I think if you are interested by something, if you have some vision, doesn't matter who are you, where are you from, you just go and nobody.
And enjoy. And enjoy,
Yeah.
you see in front of everybody with what you are doing. Is it the secret?
Yeah, I think for me the secret, the company I worked for are the biggest in the industry in Russia. And I don't have, I start only with my own capitals. There is no investor in the company. So I didn't try to do the same thing as I made for my employers, because my company need to be different, need to have products that are more difficult to copy, more interesting. So here, one of the products I have is the truffles we are making. We have 7 patents on our product, and yeah, our best market is Japanese market, and it's probably one of the most difficult to come in. When I was representing Russian company in an international fair before, we weren't able to have access to Japanese market. And the first year I represent my company in Köln, there was a battle between 5 Russian distributors to be our representative in Japan. So for us, it's a good sign to develop. The company is still very small, probably the smallest of those represented in this forum today. But I think we have very good perspective to grow and to develop.
Dave, I have not a shy question to you, but straightforward. Being born in Quebec, you see, we here say a lot that you have to give back to your community. Are you already thinking what you will give back to Quebec? Are you already working with Quebecois or with Canadians developing or scaling up your business internationally? Do you project already something back with Canada?
Actually, no, and I would like to. I would like to, because I think it's probably one of the things that miss me the most. Everybody that start a business need a team, and I see a lot of my friends who have business. A big part of their team is the friend they have when they were young. I think if I was starting my business in Canada, it would have been in some point easier to find the stuff I need. I arrived in Russia as already an adult, and from some point it's more complicated. Canada for me is not a focus market because it's not so big population for premium chocolate. But if there would be Quebecers that have good assets abroad, I would like, and I would probably prefer to work with people from Quebec for international development. But probably my company hasn't been noticed yet by international Quebecers. Maybe it's a chance to give a sign.
Yes, you see, so I invite you to schedule a meeting with me, sit together and think how we can bring together Quebecois in Russia or Canadians in Russia. And you see, we have to support that somehow. And you are a great person to do that. So let's try. And again, speaking about Canada, you know that there are international retail chains that operate even within the food industry. So just working in Canada, I don't know, maybe having a sourcing department here or whatever, you can open access and to other markets. So we just have to be creative. I invite people, if you have any questions to Dave, this is our success story. And let me tell you again that following the path of, I won't be afraid to say that, of a preacher, okay, who is really here to do something together with people, it's just so much incredibly easy to get access to anything you want. And I was looking for a person like Dave, and I was fortunate enough to find quickly. So if you have any questions, you are welcome to raise them. And now let's do, I don't know, I did something wrong again with networking last time. I will try differently because I'm experimenting. I never had a chance to do that with big group of people. So let's have last networking session. And I remind you that this is very short time for you. So what you can do, you have time only to ask 3 questions. And this is really skill to be precise. Who you are, some people don't say even a name. They say, I am a caregiver. They say, I am an assistant. You see, something like that. What are you best in? We will remember you just by your qualities, how you can help. And last question, how you can bring impact together with Quebecois. Okay, so last networking session, and we will be closing. I'm doing that. Okay, let's see what do we have. Yes, now I have a group with 10 participants. So who would like to introduce himself now? 7. I invite you to introduce yourself, please. We are now in the room. Who would like to do that?
I can do it.
Okay, Antoine, yes, you have 30 seconds.
Excellent. So I'm the assistant of MARINA. I'm speaking English, French, and I'm learning Russian. I'm promoting Quebec for the Russians and the Eurasian community. So it's a pleasure for me to meeting all of you and to spend my Saint Jean-Baptiste with a bunch of colleagues and future friends maybe. So it's
Antoine, he's a part of the Eurasian Diaspora Project that is helping for free to Eurasian small businesses to get established here. Look, he's just 20 years old and he understands the value in doing so. So who is the next? Thank you, Antoine.
It's a pleasure, and I'm here to help and to promote every one of you and to build something big together. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Hello, let me introduce myself. My name is Pavel Frolov. I am founder of Rabbo. company, and we are preparing people for living in the world of robotics. In the world of robotics, all monotonous job will be done by robots, and only robotics engineers and IT engineers will have a job. So we teach, mostly we are focusing to kids from 5 to 15. We teach kids robotics, programming, 3D printing, etc. And we provide two products. One product is RoboClub. This is complete solution for schools to open robotic classes. And another solution is RoboClub. This is franchise offer for entrepreneurs who want to open new social business and teach kids for money, and parents who want their kids to be clever and who wants their kids to have good job in the future are paying huge money for that. So we are looking now for partners in Canada to develop our business. And now we are in 18 countries, and we have subsidiary in Finland and Japan and in Russia. Thank you.
Are you a Russian-based company or Japan-based?
We are a Russian-based company, and a few years ago we won the contest of Finnish government, and we opened Finnish office by invitation of Finnish government. And then last year we won Japanese government contest, and now we open office in Japan, Robo Japan, by invitation of Fukuoka city government.
Okay, Pavel. So let's get together and speak what we can do together with CERBA. Alexandra, I invite Alexandra Logvin to introduce herself. 1 minute.
Oh, hello guys. My name is Alexandra Lozher, and I'm a lawyer. So I'm originally from Belarus with German roots, so I speak many languages, including Polish. And of course, конечно, я говорю по-русски тоже, потому что я получила свое первое образование юридическое в Беларуси на факультете международного права. И я уже давно, and I'm in Canada for over 20 years now, and requalified in my master's in law, and I'm practicing international commercial arbitration. I started with the government, and then I'm now with an international law firm, and we do all kinds of laws. So I'm personally with dispute resolution group. So I've been a proud member of CERBA for many years, and thanks so much, Marina, for inviting me to the seminar. Sorry, I had to leave for an hour because I had a federal court matter that
Alexandra,
I had to attend.
yes, we will plan again something special for you. Thank you for joining and being with CERBA. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks so much. So I'll stop talking because I realize we have.
Yes, I invite Yuri Praslov. We have just 2 minutes. Yuri Praslov. Yuri, please speak about yourself.
Hello. You caught me a little bit moving among one of the first cafes opened now in Moscow.
Okay.
You can see they have special distance observed. Yeah. I represent Russian Managers Association, and I work in marketing and communications, and we are in close contact with CERBA, supporting international events and trying to foster those topics that are of mutual interest for our members and for CERBA members alike. That's in a nutshell.
Yes, Yuri.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And
nice to follow you.
We will continue. And who else? Just let me pick up the person. Sergey, I don't see the full name. Sergey Kaigorodtsev, if I am something. Sergey, please introduce yourself.
Yes, hello. My name is Sergey. I'm from Europe. I represent Titanium Valley. It's a special economic zone. We are Eastern Economic Zone in Russia. We are specialized in aerospace application. We work with Ural Boeing. We work with Czech Republic aircraft company, with Austrian company. As well, we work with machining, with machining specialization. That's all.
Okay, yes, we have 30 seconds. Thank you very much, Sergey. We will again distribute the contact list, and I invite you to find the contacts in social media. So keep speaking with each other. And Valery Maximov, let's introduce yourself. You need to know him. I think we have more Russians here in this group. So Valery Ivanovich, he will tell you himself.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Valery Maximov. I'm a Senior Trade Commissioner of the Russian Federation here in Canada. First of all, I would like to thank CERBA for this event, and I'd like to congratulate all of you on these very important national holidays of all Quebecois. So it's we are still working with a different kind of people and with different companies here in Canada, and Canada remains for us a very important partner. And the economic ties between our countries have a long story of mutually beneficial cooperation in many branches of economy, and Montreal as a city and the Quebec province today are our key partners in terms of trade and economic relations, and we're looking forward to expand these cooperation, and I hope that after this challenging time with COVID-19, we will be able to organize Moscow days in Montreal and Quebec. So we're looking forward to expand the cooperation, Russian Trade Mission here in Canada, in Ottawa, and we will be glad to meet, to work with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valery Ivanovich, for being with us. We are scheduling so many events together again. So I will distribute as a follow-up. We will record this event and we will publish it, and with the email you will find all the chapters events with Belarus, with Russia, with Kazakhstan, with Uzbekistan, in all the industries that Philippe Valentine just mentioned. So, and again, you have time to come back and maybe to adjust the concepts of this. Let me now show you this important slide. Okay, that this event was became possible because those companies become members of CERBA. So let me just name each of them. Aviation and space, so this is Bombardier, Pratt & Whitney, MDS Corporations, MDS Corporation, in telecommunication industry, Positron, Hyperline Cabling Systems, Advantech. We have a company that specializes in geophysics, GDP instrumentation. We have a company that is that possesses competencies in mining, Solmax. In agriculture, we have these companies, Valmetal, again, Solmax, Animat. We have a law from BLG that is our member. We have BCF, the trade mark agents. We have Exeo, that specializes in immigration. So I think I named everybody, and Dentons, of course. I also think the founder and the CEO of CERBA, Nathan Hunt. Thank you very much to Nicolas Fren for bringing all the important speakers and assisting in preparation of this event. And of course, the three devoted assistants to me, Antoine Parent, Jean-Éric Trudeau, and Olga Sotskaya. If anybody of you has something to deliver, a message to deliver, I invite you to do so. You can just unmute yourself and come to us.
Marina, thank you very much for your tremendous job leading the discussion. And I was happy to see this server from Moscow. I dare say it's our great friends. I was really happy to see Dmitry Bystrov and other people here in Russia, and our Kazan chapter. Though we are not directly in business, but we are in the business of making communication like you. So we are all with you. Thank you once again.
Yes, and my thank you, special thank you to Info Partners, the Association of Managers and Industrial Parks of Russian Federation, for being with us. So we have the plans, the agenda, you see, for the second half of the year. Let's now get to business, work towards. So I wish you a very good time. We have a holiday tomorrow. Happy St. Jean-Baptiste Day, and let's be more productive than ever before. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina.
Thank you very much, and let's celebrate. See you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It was great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Vyacheslav.